Untold tales of wit, wisdom, and wild tongues, where laughter lingers and lesson burns through shadows and sparks. Our courage lands, pages unwritten, true heart yearns. Foxy Diaries, a place to heal, where stories reveal what hearts conceal. Untold tales of wit, wisdom, and wild tongues.
Hi, my intentional people. Happy New Week. I hope we've been pondering a lot from our last episode, which was on leading with people. As we get into this week, we want to look at something that we are calling vision carriers and culture shapers. And I know, wacha tuachie hapo as you think what I've just said. Vision carriers and culture shapers. And as we get, before we flesh this thing out for this week, kama kawaida, I am Sylvia, ever always joined by...
Hawezi kukwanga peke yake kila siku. I have to spice her life. You know, today I thought about ama nikache leo nisiende. Nikajambia pana, I'm the vibe. I am Sylvia's vibe.
She
but anyway,
brings the energies.
the auntie who's always sipping something.
Yes.
My name is Grasha Maingi. Karibu sana to Y254. My God.
Hautaleta kazi zako kwa kazi hapa.
Slea amesema sitaleta kazi yangu kwa kazi yake. Anyway, it's always a light moment in here. My name is Grasha Maingi. Thank you so much. Karibu sana to Foxy Diaries. We are all about intentional leadership this week and this month. The rest of July, we're just doing intentional leadership. And then next month, we will be doing intentional relationships. So the question we're asking today is, who sets the culture in your office? Who sets the culture at home? Who sets the culture in the church? What did you find people doing and you fell into it? And now you're asking yourself, nani alianzanga hii kitu by the way? Why do we show up like this, or why do we do this? So today we are talking about vision carriers and culture shapers.
Yes. Yes.
Karibuni. And kawaida, I have a story for you.
Story time.
It's story time. So, she used to walk into the team meetings energized. The atmosphere was sharp, united, full of momentum. But lately, things felt off. People came late, updates lacked detail, side chat started to cross lines. Excellence had quietly given away to familiarity. He tried to ignore it at first, assuming it was just a phase. Then one day, a new intern asked a question that stopped him. What's our actual culture here? That's what the intern asked. She realized that in that moment, somewhere along the way, the culture had drifted and he had let it drift. Instead of reacting with a rebuke, he chose a different path. He pulled out the original vision statement, read it aloud in the next meeting, and asked his team what it meant to them. The answers were scattered. Then he knew exactly what had happened. Clarity had faded. Over the next few weeks, he did something radical. He didn't just speak the vision, he lived it again. He showed up early, re-engaged with the creative process, re-established communication rhythms, and slowly the room changed. The drift stopped and the culture found its rhythm again. What changed? Not the people, the leader.
I'm excited about today's topic. Yes, because it's something that I've been thinking about for quite some few days now. Leading means that there's something that you have or something in your mind that you need to bring people into or direct or, towards. So as a leader, you have a vision, but I'm realizing most leaders, it ends at the vision. They know the what, they know the where, but what they really never sit down to define is the how. how do I get these people to the what I got from God or got from wherever? Where I want to take people, how do I take them there? The how is the essence of the culture that we are talking about today. People will figure out, they will even put it on paper, as we are told, rightfully, I think, in Habakkuk, to what? Write your vision boldly, but people end up just writing we have these things in corporates, especially ministries too. We have vision statements, we have mission statements, but it ends at the statements. Nobody sits down to break it down, the house, that this is the way we will carry ourselves. And that is where we find ourselves in that particular situation, in that story that you've led. That yes, we knew. Because whatever your vision is, that is what attracts people to you as a vision carrier, as a vision bearer, whatever that is. But then when people come, when people draw to you, if there is a lot of ambiguity in it, there is no clarity of what we are doing, that is where people start doing their own things. So what we are saying in leadership, you need to define what your culture is. And in defining your culture as that a leader did, because he's the one that changed, you just don't write down. Because again, these are specific kind of people that we live in and write down. Oh, we seek with happy smiles, we do, but they don't do it. He didn't actually tell them, he modeled it. So there's a place of knowing that this is how I want the culture to be like. This is what we do. You become clear in it, and then you start living it. These leaders, and especially, of course, I know you know them because you're also in the church space. You want to tell people, in this department or in this ministry, we come to church early. And then you yourself, you come in after you come in as a guest preacher.
Kuna mtu alisema, kuna story nilisikia a while back that some pastor, God was telling him that alikuwa, this story, I don't know why I'm forgetting the details. But the details
of remembrance locate you.
The story was, because I know you know the story, because I think it's the apostle that shared that story or something, that this pastor alikuwa anakujanga anaingia church, time yake ya kupreach ikifika na anatoka. Then God akamwambia anataka fellowship na his son. Then he's like, but I'm always in church. God is like, you always enter church like distinguished guest. You don't have time to worship, you don't have time to have fellowship with me. Unaingianga church kama guest speaker, then you leave. And then it hit him like, wow. And that's what a lot of us do.
It's true.
Tunaingianga kwa ofisi kama bosses. Wale wenye tumewa employ wanaingia 7. Meanwhile, you show up at 11, get in, sign a few papers, leave. Because in your mind, you're the boss. In your mind, you worked so hard to get where you are. Kuna mtu alisema, someone told me the other day, I don't want to mention her name. Someone was making a joke with me. It was actually on a very light note. So she was telling me to do something. She was an elder, a senior, like an elder person that I respect. So nikamwambia, haiwezekani pasi, you do it. And she was like, no, it is my reaping time. It is your sowing time. That I was like, wow. Like, really? And she was like, I am reaping. I worked so hard in the time I needed to work hard. And so, sometimes you might tell yourself as a leader that you worked so hard to get where you are at. There were days you didn't sleep. You will show up in the office at 6. There were days you will show up at church maybe when the church began, you were the praise and worship, you were the usher, you were the everything. And so you worked hard. So you feel like you deserve this rest. But there are people who don't know that. Do you imagine kuna mtu ajui you're part of you? Kuna mtu ame show up leo wakati
presence matters.
And I'm not going to use this in a bad way. There's someone who's showed up right now in Life Church when it is 1,500 members church. And they don't know that there was a day Apostle was out there clearing bushes for Life Church.
And carrying speakers.
Yes, and carrying speakers. But someone will show up right now and Apostle is showing up to service. He's not been there in the morning to see the workers do something or the workers arrange for service. Because right now he has groomed people to create a capacity to reach them. So there is someone who's found him in that state, and then they're like, So how do we balance both the leader and these people, or rather the followers, who feel like you're not doing enough, or we are doing too much for you, not knowing you paid the price to be where you are?
Actually, this is what I'll say. If it's working, it's because somebody labored. If it's working, if systems are running in the absence of someone, it's because that particular someone at one point labored, put in the work. And that is why I think in our last episode, we talked about raising people. We talked about delegating. We talked about bringing up people to your levels of capacity. You're not intimidated, or you don't feel overshadowed. It's, as you're giving an example with Life Church, of course, our apostle is now able to go to other places because he knows he's left systems and structures that are running. He was able to replicate himself in many more people. So if it is working, it's because somebody put in the work. In our today's story, it wasn't working. It stopped working. And we are not taking away the whole place of presence, no. But we are saying, because again, that would be a grave mistake. Because the more you're not present, the more you go away, the more your absence is felt. And I think we have seen enough stories in the Bible. You know how Moses would go for a while, and by the time he's coming back, he finds that people began coming up with their own cultures. So we are not saying that go away completely, no. But you've built people to a place where you don't have to be constantly there. That is how you know you're growing. That is how you know that you're succeeding. So there's that place of balancing in that way. If you realize it's not working, you're not yet ready to leave. But if it's working, it's because you've labored. Life is a sum total of our choices. We are always living in the consequences of the choices that we are making. So if you leave too early, it will crumble, it will crack, it will show. But then again, if you overstay, people won't grow, and you won't have room to have more come your way. It's always like that. Life is fair like that. So yeah, vision carriers and culture shapers.
I think another important thing is for leaders to remind ourselves, or rather vision carriers, they need to remind themselves that in as much as the vision lives in your head daily, you have the blueprint, you know it, you need to repeatedly say it to your followers.
Consistency.
Yes, usiassume ni obvious wanajua.
The assumption.
Ni obvious kwa sababu wewe, it is your vision.
It has settled in your heart and in your mind.
Yes, but you constantly need to remind your followers or the people you're with that this is it, this is the vision, this is where we're headed. Like for example, we do this show with you, but purely this show is yours. So you need to, as we keep moving, you always have to constantly remind us that we are about, because that vision is in your head. There's a way you have imagined Foxy Diaries should look like in 5 years, in a few years, even in the strategic plan of Foxy Diaries. So you don't assume that we know. You don't assume that the crew will show up knowing this is what Sly wants. You tell us consistently, this is what I am thinking. This is the vision. Because what that does, it reminds us to stay grounded to the vision. It reminds us to stay glued to the vision. It reminds us to keep the focus on the vision. Because as a leader or as a visionary, when you become complacent in your communication because you are imagining they know that they ought to be doing A, B, C, D, that's where you go wrong. Repeatedly say it. Repeating it is not going to be redundant. It's responsible. Just repeat it. Let them understand.
It's part. I think what today we are saying is, I think it's like we are now highlighting a part of what we would call basic cultures that leaders need to have as you're shaping whatever vision you have and carrying it and driving it wherever you've been instructed to do it to. So what we are saying is repeatedly. The key term is repeatedly. Keep saying it. Keep telling your people that are working with you, that this is where we are going. So there's a place of that, place of consistently telling people this is what we are doing.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love something. I've seen in the notes we created. There's this aspect of what do leaders tolerate that they should correct? Because we often find ourselves tolerating things we ought to have corrected because we are afraid those people will leave church. We are afraid those people will leave groups. We are afraid that they will not perform as we want them to in the corporate world. But what should you not, in as much as you are a leader, in as much as you would lovingly want to keep everyone around and everyone happy, what should you have? What should you correct? And what should you tolerate? There's the place of grace, but grace is not silence.
You cannot forever live under grace.
You cannot utter the Bible that in the era of ignorance overlooked. So the areas where you get to as a leader, you tell yourself this, you need to now speak up. This is no longer grace. You're not offering grace. You have offered it too much that it has now become a walkover, that people will start doing things. Because
actually tolerating is a whole culture that you're teaching people.
Exactly.
That it's okay. Whether I show up on time or I don't, it's okay. There are no consequences to it.
People will show up late to office and will be like, it's fine.
Ukiangalia
unasema, I may show up 5 minutes late too. I'll try next time. The next time they will add 10 minutes to it. Then before you know it, they are coming 2 hours late or they're coming an hour
people
late.
Will always test your boundaries.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
And
because, because they have realized that you can tolerate their excesses.
No, I agree. I think what we are trying to say here is she has said it at one point, and I think I'll pick it up from there. In the days of ignorance, you tolerate it. What are we trying to tell you as a leader? The only place you tolerate people's misgivings is when you as a leader taken time to teach them, to tell them that this is how things are done. And not only teaching them, but also modeling it. So if you've done that, because there is an art of toleration, if you've done that, and this person is persistent, this person is consistent on doing the same things that you've warned them about, you've taught them about, because at times people will do things because they have no capacity. But after all these investments, and this person or these people are still doing the same things, it's time you introduced consequences. And the worst kind of consequence is it's a firing down or, sit down. Because you won't let people again play around with your vision or your business or your job or, because you are the one who will carry the worst consequences of it all. So you don't, in the name of grace and in the name of love, drive down a whole ministry or a whole vision. No. You don't do that. So there is a place of lovingly, and I don't know, I am using lovingly
very, very lightly.
Yes, there's a place of lovingly rebuking people, because I realized, especially in church spaces, in this episode we will always talk about church spaces as well, because remember we are kingdom girls. There are people who want to be, abujubujud in their mistakes. Kidogo, you call them out.
Oh, sorry.
That makes sense. You call them out at church heart. Sijui my heart. Sijui I want to sit down, my friend. There are times I tell people in my circle, I actually want you to sit down, because your presence is actually dragging.
It's
not adding any value. So I literally want you to now sit down. Because at times, unaonanga ile statement here, one rotten fruit can make all the other fruits rotten. You and your bad culture no umekata kuachana nayo. Aki, sit down. Stop teaching my other good people bad cultures. Don't do that to me. So there is a place of not
Hey,
tolerating
Sly,
it.
ameipeleka personal. Ay, sit down.
No, it has to get a bit personal,
Yes.
because you're trying to capacity build people, and they are learning, and there are people who are joining in. So imagine
Oh,
the
yeah,
people who
if
are
they come
joining
to
in
pick
and
the
come
bad
realize,
habits.
no, not in my
Kaa tu chini. Sly amesema you just sit down.
go and deal with
There are
yourself
people
and
who
work
are
on you.
walking eggshells. There are people who are just walking eggshells. Because, tell me why you will always feel like you have to watch, be cautious while you're talking to them, while you're hanging. And then they are sometimes even under you and you're...
You know, as we are talking about this, I was doing
I'm done, did it.
but you've sparked
I'm
something.
done, did it.
I'm like, also understand the places that you want to volunteer yourself or you want to apply for jobs. Because in a high pressure area, my friend, you better have built enough capacity to handle that kind of pressure. But you don't come and ask for work or come and volunteer into a high pressure kind of job. And once the pressure gets to you, you're breaking. Is my work now to come and cancel you as we are working, or are we supposed to be working?
I'm looking for a way to land this ship because Sly has decided today it is personal.
Okay,
it's fine. Like, just say it.
And viewer, what we are trying to say in this episode is cultures matter, and how you shape them matter. What is part of shaping is what we are currently talking about here again, especially this last part of what you tolerate as mistakes. And don't let people corner you into these areas of toleration, because the more you keep quiet, the more it becomes hard to bring down these walls, the more it becomes hard to reteach, you know. One of the hardest things to do, especially in leadership circles, in life generally, is unlearning. So which is easier? Teach people the right thing or start making them unlearn for you now to reteach. You know how, and we're not calling people dogs, really, no, but there's this saying of it's very hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
It's quite easier shaping up a child from... That is what we're saying. In these culture things.
Hata siongei, nimenyamaza, nimeachia hapo. In fact, the Bible case scenario I will give you as we wind up is Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 1 to 6. Nehemiah did not just give people a vision. He established a culture of resilience and accountability. He worked alongside his team, confronted internal compromise, and regularly recast the mission to prevent drift. The wall was rebuilt not just because of the vision, but because of culture. So culture matters. Culture matters. Culture is what you permit, it's what you promote, and is what you protect.
She has said it. And I think for my parting shot, what I would say concerning our today's episode is that vision is good. Vision is amazing. Vision gives us direction. But what culture does, culture will give you speed. How fast you move or how slow you move is determined by the culture that you introduce and sustain.
Nishapata lesson ya kwenda kufunza waka service next Sunday.
We are done.
Nilikuwa natafuta content ya Sunday. Ndio hii nimepata. But anyway, we need to wind up. See you next week. Same place, same time. This is Foxy Diaries, the untold tales of
wit, wisdom, and world turns. Today was a wild one. Anyway.
Untold tales of wit, wisdom, and world turns, where laughter lingers and lesson burns through shadows and sparks. Our courage lies.